Welcome to AI Near and Far, the podcast where we talk with creators, innovators, business executives, and curious minds who are using AI to transform the way they work, think, and create. I'm Brad Moss, the CEO of Enhanced AI and the host of this podcast. In each episode, I sit down with someone who's putting AI to use in real, meaningful ways. We'll explore how they've used AI in the past, what they're building right now, and where they see it going in the future. Along the way, we'll dive into their personal takes on the opportunities, challenges, and surprises that come with this fast-moving tech. This show is here to spark ideas, share insights, and help you enhance your own experience with AI. All right, so we're excited to announce a brand new interactive feature for our listeners. As we are brainstorming and knowing that we're AI first, we're starting this week that each episode will come with its own AI-powered chatbot, and it's linked in the description of this episode. So the chatbots are designed to answer your questions as if you're talking directly to the guest. So it's trained on their insights from the show and their public work. So you can dive deeper, explore their ideas, or even ask follow-up questions we didn't get to during the interview. Just click on the link and start chatting with this week's guest. I'm here to welcome Charlie Ponitz. He is an operating partner at NextGen Growth Partners, where he's on a mission to acquire and operate businesses that create lasting value for customers, employees, and industry peers. Charlie brings a fascinating blend of expertise to the table, as he's a Georgia native who graduated with honors from the University of Georgia before embarking on a career journey that's taken him from business transformation consulting at Deloitte to hands-on operations of multiple lower middle market businesses at the Chesapeake Group. And one thing I find interesting about Charlie's path is how he's combined his analytic expertise and rigor with his operational kind of leadership and mind. And he's not just looking for businesses from a spreadsheet, he's rolling up his sleeves as he's led teams through real transformation, working with everyone from C-suite executives to frontline employees. So when Charlie talks about his work, you can hear his genuine commitment to building businesses that grow not just financially, but in ways that benefit all stakeholders. So I'm excited to dive into Charlie's insights of business acquisition, especially in this world, the world of AI, and talk about sustainable growth.
It's very generous. Shout out to the Georgia Bulldogs there. I like that. I do love the outdoors as well, and so I'm not all business all the time, but a lot of business most of the time. And I think I met you in Salt Lake after a ski trip to Park City. So
Oh yeah.
Excited to dive in here.
Yeah. Well, speaking of outdoors, what did you grow up doing in Georgia outdoors? Like, what was one of your favorite things that you did?
Yeah, so unfortunately, I didn't pick this up early enough, but I'm a big golfer. My grandparents lived on the 16th hole of a golf course called The Farm, which was rated as the number 11 golf course in the state of Georgia a couple years ago.
Wow.
But unfortunately, I didn't start golfing until after college. But mountain biking, running. I know you're an endurance athlete, so we have some overlap there.
Yeah, it's funny to even call me an athlete. I just go. I'll endure pain. That's basically what it is. I don't know if I'm an athlete.
Yeah, if you live near the mountains, you're either a downhill guy or an uphill guy, and it sounds like you're an uphill guy.
Even though I like going downhill a lot better, it's a lot easier. So
Yeah.
Awesome. So talk to me about like kind of what drew you into kind of what is called business transformation and consulting at Deloitte. Like, what is that?
Yeah.
And kind of what drew you into that world?
Yeah, sure. So, touching on my background from Georgia, I actually grew up in a smaller town called Dalton, Georgia, which, it's probably about 60 to 80,000 people, but there were 3 Fortune 500 companies that were spawned out of the town. So at some point in the early 70s, I think there were the most millionaires per capita in the US from my small town. And it's all centered around the flooring industry, which is a sexy space, to say the least.
Yeah.
So, my grandfather had his own business. My dad worked for my grandfather. And then I just grew up around a host of people who had entrepreneurial roots and had started businesses in and around that industry. And so when I, exited undergrad, my number one goal was to just learn as much as I can and figure out how to understand how businesses operate. And so that's really what drew me into consulting. And in hindsight, it makes sense how I got to where I was. But at the time, I just got a job with a technology consulting firm. They bring you in, you're on the bench, and you have to carve your own path. And I had the full list of all of our projects, and I saw this description for something called a cloud financial system. And I was like, okay, well, I have a finance undergrad degree. I think I can figure this out. And so that led me down, a very long, arduous path of ERP implementations, which everybody loves. But I got to see some really cool companies. I worked for a business called Les Schwab out, if you're a West Coast guy, so you should know Les Schwab, multi-billion-dollar automotive parts retailer. They actually sold for $3 billion after we finished our project. And so that's kind of like on the upper end of businesses that I got exposure to. And then I also, in my most recent experience, I was CEO of a $3 million revenue tile manufacturer. So, wow. I've kind of run the gamut on industries and business sizes, but it all started with business transformation consulting. Gave me a lot of experience that I could pull from, and I've now leveraged that experience to hopefully acquire and operate a business on my own, and with the help of my investors, NextGen Growth Partners. So,
okay, that's great. Now, okay, so when you ran that company, was that part of the Chesapeake Group, or was that?
It was. So yeah, it was. McIntyre Tile is one of the two businesses that I was operating. Uh-huh. It was owned by Doug Land, who is the managing partner of the Chesapeake Group.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Great. And so basically you wanted to leave, when you left Deloitte, you went to the Chesapeake Group. Was it like going into, instead of consulting, wrapping up the package, delivering it to someone, say, hey, you go do stuff with it, it was, I want to do something, implement it, and see how well it works. Is that kind of the idea? Or
yeah. With consulting, that is one of the pain points, I think. If you have a true builder personality, which I know you do, and a lot of entrepreneurs do, you get to do all the work, and then you don't really get to stick around to see the results most of the time. Or even understand outside of your theoretical context, like how well did this actually work? So, I was exploring a lot of paths at the time before I went to the Chesapeake Group, but talking to my dad and a few of my trusted advisors, I really kind of viewed it as a real world MBA experience where I was going to get the chance to get paid and also operate a company at the same time, and get to see how cut my teeth in the real world.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, okay, so when did you first, since we're talking about how AI starts coming into the world, when were you first exposed to AI and kind of caught on to this? Either AI or more generative AI, I guess, is more of what's impacting the world these days.
Yeah. You know the dates probably better than most. When was ChatGPT released?
November 2 years ago, 2.5 or 3 years ago, whenever that was. It's going to be 3 years this November, I think.
Okay. So that was November 22.
Yeah.
I would say I probably got on to ChatGPT in February. So, 3 months behind the curve. And then, it's just I remember back in those days, it couldn't access the internet, and if you asked a bad question, it would just say like, "I'm sorry, I'm not trained on that data."
Yeah.
So that was my introduction, and then
So funny. That feels like, I mean, you grew up with the invent of the internet too. It feels like
I
dial-up
did.
at this point. It's like, yeah, the internet was great, but it was dial-up,
It
and
was
then
yeah.
we're always on.
I, I was talking with my friends. I think I was part of I was the last generation. I think that knew what it was like to live a life where you weren't constantly tied into the internet 24/7.
Yeah.
So I would agree. ChatGPT 1 or 2 definitely felt like dial up. And then just it's been a lot of self study. And then I'll give you an Enhanced AI a quick shout out here. Going through your curriculum for the Flux Prompt training, which if your your viewers here aren't familiar with, I would highly recommend you check it out. That was really foundational for me, understanding just the overall structure of how an AI prompt, context, and response works, and then also the various technical back end things about how these models work, and the fact that they don't actually have memory, even though they may seem like they do. It's been a journey over the last couple of years, but I'm really excited to. I feel like I'm in a good space relative to a lot of the peers that I speak with, and I'm excited to see how this continues to transform many industries, in particular outsourced accounting services.
Yeah. Okay. So outsourced accounting services, is that kind of what you're looking at and targeting with what you're doing as where you are today?
Yeah, it is. So I started looking into this thesis 16 months ago when I started my search with NextGen. And, AI has obviously changed a lot in just that short amount of time, but I spent a lot of time thinking about this, sometimes some sleepless nights. And the reason why I chose the industry are, number one, that is the background that I have from my consulting days, is implementing and making sure that all back office accounting, finance functions across their technology platforms, as well as across your human capital group, are cohesive and they work. And so, number one, I wanted to find an area that I had relevant experience in, that I felt like I had an edge. And then number two, I think this space is ripe for disruption with AI, but I think that it's also a phenomenal opportunity to build an AI native company that can position itself really well against some of its peers that might not be able to adopt and adapt as quickly.
Yeah. Now, okay, so you've dove into AI and its strengths and weaknesses. What are areas do you think it could help in the accounting industry in ways that it can't quite help yet because it's just not strong enough?
Yeah. That is, there's a lot of ways you could take that one. So let me start maybe by explaining kind of how I see it being used today, or at least how I'm using it. There's really 4 areas that I'm currently implementing it in my workflow. I use it for research. If I have an idea or an industry that I want to, learn more about, the new research functions on these tools are amazing. Data analysis is another area that I'm currently using it. During a search, it's a little bit of a volume game, like any sales process is, and so I'll have a list of a couple thousand companies with just the domains, and I'll need to figure out, of this couple thousand companies, which ones of these are targets that might meet my investment criteria. And so I'll create a prompt with my investment criteria, what I'm looking for, and feed in the domains. AI will parse that list for me.
That's awesome.
Tech support is another one. So if I need to do anything technical in Excel or maybe write some kind of VBA code, that's something it's really good at.
Yeah.
And then sales support. So generating newsletters, blogs, helping draft first drafts to emails, things like that.
Yeah.
It's really good at. All of those same use cases, I think, would apply to the accounting services industry. Where I think it still is lacking is maybe on, hallucination is kind of an outdated term, I'd say, but in certain industries where you need to be pretty precise and definitive, I will say AI still is not quite there. And, and just the trust level that you need to have.
Yeah, like it really doesn't do math. It can't do math. There's only predictors, or it can spin up a little calculator, and hopefully the calculator can do the math.
And it's really good at making it seem like it's doing the math, but it's wrong.
Yes.
So if there was some extra layer, and I'm sure there will be someday, that kind of fact checks the work, I think that would be something that would really make this technology able to scale out across larger data sets or, more ambiguous use cases pretty easily.
Yeah. So do you see that as you're looking to the future, almost, you acquire a business or two, do you see that, like, how do you position your company to be ready to ingest that AI technology that's not here yet, but it's coming, right? Maybe 2 years, maybe 1 year. It's going really fast.
Yeah, it's going amazingly fast. So I think the way you do that, and really the way that you break down any company, is defining the flows of the way work is completed or communication channels, and figure out where the bottlenecks are, and then try and eliminate those bottlenecks, which allows you to deliver work faster and hopefully more accurately. If you can, and this is in a way really what Palantir does for government clients, they create a digital twin of your business, and then they're running AI on that digital twin to do whatever they do. I don't actually know all the ins and outs of what they deliver, but that's in a sense how they work. And so if I'm to acquire an accounting firm, that would be the first step. One is mapping out all of the services that we provide. What are the steps to complete those services? And then which of those steps can be automated or removed by implementing a foundational AI layer that talks across your organization and your applications. So yeah, that's a pretty vague, ambiguous answer, but that's really what you have to do.
Okay. So let's AI tools in the next several years. Like, what do you think it's going to do for small to mid-sized business owners? Like, how do you think it's going to implement them? Like, do you have any theories as you're watching this kind of whole world change?
Of how it's going to be implemented?
Yeah.
Is that what you asked?
That would be really good for mid-sized business owners. Like, how should they be thinking about AI implementing? Maybe that's too broad. Maybe you could talk about the financial services industry.
I'm also looking across some other industries as well. So I think medium-sized businesses works. The challenge, look, the fact is that most people today, if you hear AI, you think ChatGPT.
Yeah.
That's just one point solution user interface where you input some information one time and then you get back one response.
Yeah.
if you really think about how companies work, there's processes and there's systems. And so you need to have those tools embedded in those processes and systems to be able to, along with the relevant context of what you do and how you do it and why you do it, so that they can continue to be useful tools. And so I do think it's going to be a challenge for a lot of people to implement these technologies in their companies if you don't have some level of technical sophistication, to be honest.
Yeah. You know what we find often is they say, hey, let's do this thing. And we say, well, we got to map out your operations first, of like exactly how this happens now. And a lot of people don't have that. A lot of folks, so it's almost like that's like a foundational step. Look, AI can't just come in and be magic, right? Like you got to figure out what are your operations? What's the step 1 through 20 that accomplishes this task? Okay, now we can instruct AI or build the AI agent that can do this. That's almost like foundational as even like a lower level piece is like, hey, let's just figure out what you're even doing to accomplish your goal and make money as a company.
Yeah. And, if you're actually trying to use it to perform like your core service delivery in let's say an outsourced accounting function, that's going to be a more robust process, definition. But you could speak to this, like I think there are higher level, maybe like some low hanging fruit opportunities, whether it's a customer service chatbot or, and I mean, you built one of these in an hour in our training session. So, there are certain use cases that I think can give a pretty high ROI with a relatively low level of investment, namely the chatbot and others. But yeah, some of those other more foundational use cases, it's going to be a process. But same thing as ERP implementations. There is a period of pain. Honestly, but then hopefully you realize the ROI at the end of it. And I think AI definitely presents a lot of compelling opportunities for that.
Yeah, I think so. Interesting. Okay, so as you've done your search, well, let me ask you this other question first. Just got a couple more questions for you. So
yeah.
First is like the intersection of private equity and AI, like, what do you think there's some opportunities that others might be missing as you see these kind of like all the worlds are combining, but that's one that you have a pretty good insight, I think, into.
Yeah. So I'm going to take a stab. I think this is what you're alluding to, and at least this is how I'm interpreting it. So NextGen, just as a use case, we have 12 portfolio companies across the three funds, and in 3 weeks in Chicago, the head of our value creation team, along with some of the CEOs and some of the folks at the portfolio companies, are coming together to do an AI summit. And so we're able to aggregate resources and talent to share use cases across our portfolios. And we're in a position where we have capital to reinvest in these businesses to grow them, hopefully up into scalable enterprises. When you think about smaller sized companies or Main Street businesses, you're not going to have that network, and you're probably not going to have that technical expertise in most cases as well. That is an area where I do see private equity providing a competitive advantage versus a private enterprise.
Yeah, I mean, it takes capital. It's so funny. It's like everything takes there's a certain amount of capital it takes to grow, but AI comes in. It's like, look, we're going to save you money, but you actually have to invest some capital. You have to invest money to build the thing, or build the expertise, or do the research to figure out what this whole thing is. And that makes a lot of sense that a PE firm would come in and do it. We've come in, I don't know if I've mentioned before on the podcast or before or not, but we've come in and helped struggling companies that are PE backed, and the PE firm, everyone has a bunch of struggling companies, but it's like, hey, look, here's a way of helping the company survive. Here's like 3 different agents or AI systems we could build that now the company can survive. The costs are cut, by 1/10. It's now 1/10 the cost. And it's like, wow, okay, but it's going to cost them a little bit of money to do it. And then once they do it, all of a sudden it's like, wow, this is game changer. Which is, I don't know why more PE firms aren't just like, hey, all companies could survive now. I mean, but there's a bunch that are on the edge that really could be turned the other way.
there's 2 sides to the return on investment equation. There's your return and there's your investment. So you have to put some money in, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yep.
But that's the same in anything in life. So
That's right. Okay, so say you could design with your current situation the perfect AI assistant for your role. What would it do, and how would it change your day-to-day work?
oh man, that would be amazing. It would do my job for me. No, I think realistically, that same use case I alluded to before would, if I could scale it out, to be a more autonomous agent. Right now, I'm having to build and scale these kind of point solutions while I'm also courting business owners and trying to close a deal and fund companies. But my ideal agent right now would have access to my CRM, have access to my investment criteria, have access to any of the past writing or this podcast. It could have the verbal transcript, as much information that it could possibly have about who I am and my background and how I will relate to people. And if I could log into my computer and there was a dashboard of 25 new opportunities that it found that are A+ rated, and here's their phone number from the internet that I could call them today, that would be amazing.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And here's 5 connection points of where you guys have mutual friends or shared values. That would be the dream for the search fund. You should monetize that.
Well, I don't think that's too hard to do. I don't know. We should talk afterward. I think there's some bunch of new features that we haven't announced that we're building also that will almost allow you to build that whole system, that whole suite on your own, which could be pretty cool. What excites you the most about AI in the next 5 years?
Oh man, that's a big one. I think we're really at an inflection point. This is going to go pretty macro and might be a little woo-woo. We'll see. But I actually really do think we're at an inflection point where the barriers to entry for creating a company and creating a product that a critical mass of people will buy are almost at an all-time low. And with AI agents and tools, you're going to be able to spin up a 3-person enterprise that could be a profitable business. And so when you just expand that across the economy, I do think that we could be in a really interesting period of explosive growth here. And it's just, I'm in the business of buying and growing small businesses, and that's what I'm excited about. And I think it's a pretty cool time.
Yeah. And I think it's a good time for those who are on the edge of this technology and watching it and taking advantage of it. Because this is almost like the most approachable technology wave we've had. Like AI is, you got to learn stuff, you got to understand it, but it's actually cool because it's so approachable. I don't have to write code. I can tell AI to write code. Yeah. I don't even have to translate a language. AI can translate it for me. it's designed to be so fluid and just work the way we work. That's what's so incredible about it.
You can just ask it to teach you.
Yeah.
That's all you have to do.
I don't know how to do this. Teach me, or tell me what questions I should be asking to learn how to do this, right?
Yeah. I mean, it takes me 5 minutes. I'm lucky. It takes me 5 minutes to drive to my office. I use Duolingo Max, and you can have an AI conversation. You can have a conversation with an AI bot over what they call a video call, and it remembers your history. And so I'm having 10 minutes of Spanish conversations every day as I come into the office. Like, it's cool.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great. All right. Well, Charlie, we don't need to take up all your time. This has been good. I love your insights about the industry. And thanks for coming on the show. Again, this is Charlie Ponitz, the operating partner at NextGen Growth Partners. Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks, Brad. Appreciate being here.
All right. Thanks. That's it for today's episode of AI Near and Far. Big thanks to today's guests for joining us and sharing their story. If you enjoyed this conversation, make sure you follow or subscribe wherever you're listening. If you prefer to watch these episodes, you can find them all on YouTube. And if you're feeling generous, please leave a quick review. I'm Brad Moss, and thanks for spending some time with us. We'll catch you next time as we continue exploring how real people are using AI to shape what's next. Until then, keep on building.